I lost my brother, she lost her mother. There's still a difference, even though it's still a loss from the...
Behind the glitz and glamour of Janet Jackson's iconic career lies a hidden chapter, a secret marriage that shook her world. In the late 1990s, Janet tied the knot with René Elizondo Jr., a marriage that remained concealed from the public eye. But as their relationship unraveled, a bitter divorce battle ensued, threatening to expose the Jackson family's darkest secrets. This untold story reveals the untold heartache and the unrelenting quest for control that made it mar Janet's life, career, and legacy. A tale of love, lies, and the unbreakable bonds of family. Meet Janet Jackson, the youngest of the famous Jackson clan. Born on May 16, 1966 in Gary, Indiana. She is a trailblazing American superstar who's been slaying the music, film, and dance scenes for decades. With her bold, innovative style and unapologetic attitude, Janet's been pushing boundaries and breaking rules with her music, mesmerizing live performances, and commitment to social justice. Growing up, she watched her brothers, the Jackson 5, rise to fame, while she and her sister stayed at home. But Janet was destined for stardom too. Did you know the actress was raised in a Jehovah's Witness home? And yes, she is the sister to the late King of Pop, Michael Jackson. She started performing with her family, touring and making TV appearances, including the hit show The Jacksons.
Heck no! Without them, I could have been rotting out on Rippy.
Her early acting chops were showcased in roles on Good Times, Different Strokes, and Fame. But music was her true passion. After 2 unsuccessful solo albums, Janet found her groove with Control, produced by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. The album soared, selling 5 million copies and spawning 6 hits, including the chart-topping When I Think of You. She finally gained control of her career, firing her father as her manager. Janet's subsequent albums, Rhythm Nation 1814 and Janet, solidified her status as a pop icon, selling millions of copies and producing hits like That's the Way Love Goes. She even secretly married dancer René Elizondo Jr. in 1991. Throughout her journey, Janet has proven herself to be a talented, determined, and resilient artist, paving her way in the entertainment industry. As the spotlight shone brighter on her triumphs, a private truth remained hidden from view, a secret so closely guarded it would take years to unravel, revealing a complex tapestry of love and betrayal that would forever alter the course of her life. Janet Jackson has had a few shots at love and ultimately marriage. However, how this series of episodes turned out is one for the books, with her first shot at love in 1984. It was the early 80s, and Janet Jackson was just 16, still basking in the glow of her rising star. That's when she met James DeBarge, a charming teen heartthrob with a voice that melted hearts and hits like Rhythm of the Night. As they started dating, Janet found herself drawn to DeBarge's kind and gentle nature. A sweet guy who understood her world. Growing up in musical families had given them a special bond, a shared language that only they could speak. It was as if they were 2 melody lines meant to harmonize. In a whirlwind romance that swept her off her feet, 18-year-old Janet Jackson eventually eloped with charismatic singer James DeBarge in September 1984, with Janet Jackson getting blessings from her sister LaToya Jackson. But the fairy tale was short-lived, and the marriage was annulled just a year later in November 1985, leaving Janet to pick up the pieces and wonder what could have been. What could have led to the abrupt end of their marriage that barely lasted a year? Can you imagine being left high and dry on your wedding night by your brand new husband? Yeah, that happened to Janet Jackson. In her new docuseries, the pop icon reveals that her first husband, James DeBarge, ditched her at a hotel in Grand Rapids, Michigan for 3 whole hours after they exchanged their I do's. She was just 18, alone, and wondering what she'd gotten herself into. They bonded pretty well over their musical backgrounds, but things took a dark turn when DeBarge's drug use became apparent. Yes, that white stuff. Janet's voice trailed off as she pondered the puzzling pattern in her past relationships. I think I have a rescuer complex, she mused. Deep down, I've been drawn to people who are struggling with addiction, hoping I can somehow fix them, save them. But in the end, I realize I'm not the savior they need. On the other hand, James DeBarge's humor still shines bright, even when reflecting on his past while appearing in the docuseries. "I don't know why anyone would trust me," he quipped, showing he can laugh at himself. But beneath the jokes, a sweet love story unfolds. "I just had to be with her all the time," he reminisced, his eyes sparkling with nostalgia. "We were like two love-struck teenagers, obsessed with each other," he chuckled. "I think we were both just so in love with each other that we just needed to block everyone else out." Ah, young love, where the only thing that matters is the person beside you. Also, there's more to the union of the duo that particularly affected Janet Jackson herself. Here's a rephrased version with a human tone and engaging language. In a heart-wrenching revelation, Janet Jackson opened up about the sacrifices she made for love. As her first husband struggled with drug addiction, she put her thriving career on the back burner to be his rock. "I was filming Fame at the time, but I'd often show up late, delaying production," she confessed to the BBC. "It wasn't about being reckless. I just knew he needed me more. I was his haven, his lifeline." But her dedication came at a cost. She faced stern warnings from producers who grew tired of her tardiness. "I'm not sure they were thrilled with me," she admitted with a hint of vulnerability. In that moment, Janet chose love over fame, a decision that would leave an indelible mark on her life. Janet recalls searching the streets for him at all hours, fighting over pills and trying to flush them down the toilet. It was a toxic cycle she couldn't escape. Perhaps this was the deal breaker. And then there's the rumor that's been circulating for decades. Did they have a secret child? Janet finally sets the record straight, saying she could never keep a child from their father. DeBarge, on the other hand, remembers their time together as a passionate young love story. Their marriage was annulled after just a year, but the memories linger. Janet reflects on her pattern of attracting partners with addiction issues, wondering if she desires to help others, which leads her down this path. One thing's for sure, she's not afraid to confront the demons of her past and share her story with the world. After the tumultuous demise of her first marriage, Janet Jackson thought she'd never love again. But as the rhythm of her music continued to pulse through her veins, her heart began to beat a new drum, leading her down a path of rediscovery and ultimately into the arms of another. Enter René Elizondo Jr., a handsome and charming Mexican dancer and music video director who would become the catalyst for Janet's second chance at love. It's a little known fact that Janet Jackson's life intersected with René Elizondo's in the most unexpected way through her sister LaToya's dance crew in the 1980s. René was just a talented backup dancer at the time, but his connection with Janet would blossom into something truly special. Janet Jackson's life was stuck on repeat until she met René Elizondo. A mutual friend brought them together, and it was like a breath of fresh air. After years of being tied to a tumultuous relationship with James DeBarge, Janet was ready to break free from the toxic cycle of drugs and heartache. That's when René swept in, charming her with his infectious humor and carefree spirit. They were like two peas in a pod, always laughing and having the time of their lives. And then, on a stormy beach day, René dropped to one knee and asked Janet to be his forever. It was a moment she'd been craving, a real proposal, with a ring and all the romance. Unlike James, who never made such gestures, René made her feel seen and loved. Janet thought she'd finally found her happily ever after. But little did she know, this was only the beginning. René Elizondo was more than just Janet's partner. He was her creative collaborator and muse. He brought his talents to the table, helping choreograph some of Janet's most iconic music videos. And his contributions didn't stop there. He even co-wrote songs on her groundbreaking album, The Velvet Rope. Their partnership was truly a meeting of minds and hearts. Who can forget the striking Rolling Stone cover featuring René's hands tenderly covering Janet's chest? A powerful symbol of their love and trust. It's even safe to posit that Janet Jackson believed he was the one. All of this took place in the 1980s, and by 1991, the couple tied the knot in a private ceremony, something which has long become a signature of Jackson's. But good things, they say, must always come to an end, and this was no exception. Janet Jackson has spent her entire life in the spotlight, and it's taken a toll. In a candid interview with Rolling Stone, she opened up about her desire for a sense of normalcy, especially when it comes to her family life. "I've been living in a fishbowl since I was a kid," she confessed. "It's been a challenge to keep my personal life private, but I hope my fans will understand that I need some semblance of normalcy." After years of scrutiny, Janet's marriage to René Elizondo finally crumbled in 2000, with their divorce becoming official in 2003. The reason? Irreconcilable differences, according to the papers. But we know there's often more to the story than what's printed on the page. This begs the question, what happened? The untold story is that their marriage came to an end primarily due to a divergence in their personal and professional aspirations. Amidst Janet's soaring career in the music industry and René's role as her creative collaborator and confidant, however, as the years passed, their relationship faced mounting challenges stemming from conflicting priorities in the strains of fame. Central to their marriage discord was René's desire for greater recognition and autonomy in the partnership. As Janet's career continued to flourish, René sought to establish himself independently, longing to step out of his wife's shadow and carve his path in the entertainment world. Unfortunately, this ambition clashed with Janet's vision of their partnership, which was deeply intertwined with her career and public persona. Despite their shared history and mutual affection, Janet and René ultimately concluded that their paths diverged too significantly for their marriage to continue. To corroborate the story, she also further explained that she wanted a normal family life, away from the public eye. René shared his side of the story, saying they simply grew apart, becoming more like business partners than husband and wife. Regardless, they kept things amicable, with no third party involved. René's dating someone new, but he kept that under wraps for now. As they navigate this new chapter, Janet wishes René all the best, and he feels the same way. According to Forbes, René received $10 million in spousal support. Their union was arguably one of Hollywood's most kept secrets of all time. Want to know what's even more covert? In a beautiful, intimate ceremony, Janet and René exchanged vows in the comfort of their home in northern San Diego County. Surrounded by loved ones, they were joined together by a priest in a heartfelt celebration. René Elizondo reflected on the secrecy surrounding their marriage, saying, "What's amazing is our close friends and business associates did know about it, but I guess they all felt loyal to our friendship and respected our approach to preserving it." The couple had been separated since January 1999, but their decision to keep their marriage under wraps was deliberate. As René explained, "We decided early on that we wanted to preserve our marriage by keeping it private. We noticed that couples that are always in the media seem to break up quickly in Hollywood," he added. "We were together 14 years in Hollywood, which is almost unheard of in show business." Fair play, René and Janet. After her marriage had ended with René, it was only right that she moved up the ladder in her dating, but boy did she level up. Janet had landed herself the creme of the crop, a billionaire. Wissam Al-Mana is a Qatari business magnate and investor. What many do not know is that Wissam Al-Mana's business empire, including NBA stars and Qatar's McDonald's franchises, has amassed an estimated $1 billion fortune. In comparison, Janet Jackson's $174 million thin net worth is significantly lower, showcasing the vast wealth of her Qatari husband's family. He is also known for his high-profile marriage to Janet Jackson from 2012 to 2017. They both share a son. When Janet Jackson married Wissam Al-Mana in 2012, it was a private affair, with only a handful of people aware of the intimate ceremony. A year later, they confirmed the news to the public, sharing that they donated to children's charities instead of exchanging traditional gifts. The couple kept a low profile, only making headlines occasionally, like when rumors swirled that Janet had converted to Islam, or when she announced her surprise pregnancy at 50. After canceling her tour due to a sudden change, Janet shared a heartfelt video with fans, explaining that she and Wissam were starting a family. People magazine got an exclusive look at her baby bump, with Janet gushing, "We thank God for our blessing." Their son, Isa, arrived in January 2017, but sadly, the couple separated soon after, ending their 5-year marriage. Janet Jackson's 5-year marriage to Wissam Al-Mana may have ended, but she's likely to walk away with a significant payout. Even with a prenup in place, Janet's entitlements would have increased substantially after passing the 5- and 10-year marks. According to reports, she was set to receive $100 million after 5 years of marriage, and an additional $100 million if they had a child, which they did. It's no wonder people are speculating that Janet was savvy enough to position herself for a lucrative payoff, essentially securing her own happily ever after financial package. Rumors swirled in the first week of May 2017 that Janet Jackson and her third husband, Wissam El-Mana, were calling it quits. And let's be real, all eyes are on the potential payday. With El-Mana's vast Qatari fortune on the line, this could be the most lucrative divorce in celebrity history. According to insiders, Janet found a sense of belonging in her new faith, embracing a more understated approach to life. She's been devoted to studying her new religion and has left her provocative persona behind, marking a new chapter in her life. This was the beginning of underlying issues that plagued their marriage. Also, something else did not sit right with Janet Jackson. She felt she was losing her identity. Janet's always been a strong-willed person who values her independence, a close family friend revealed to the New York Post. But in her marriage, she felt like she was surrendering that control, and it didn't sit well with her. As if that was not enough, it seems like Wissam El-Mana's conservative influence on Janet Jackson eventually took a toll on their relationship. Despite his low-key profile, he avoids the spotlight, doesn't drink, and steers clear of social media. Sources suggest he exerted significant control over Janet's life. During her pregnancy, she reportedly felt suffocated by his demands, which included toning down her stage presence and covering up. He even allegedly banned her signature sexy dance moves, which left her feeling frustrated and disconnected from her fans. It's no wonder their separation has raised eyebrows. It appears Janet finally broke free from his restrictive grip. Now she's eager to reclaim her identity and be her person again. Not just a wife or a symbol of her husband's faith, but the one and only Janet Jackson. Furthermore, the final straw for Janet came when her husband, Wissam El-Mana, seemed utterly unconcerned about the disturbing allegations of elder abuse against her mother, Katherine Jackson. As the then 86-year-old matriarch sought protection from her nephew, Trent Jackson, who's accused of emotional abuse and theft, Janet was appalled by Wissam's lack of support. A source close to the family told Page 6 that Janet was deeply worried about her mother's well-being. But Wissam's indifference was a stark reminder that their values and priorities were no longer aligned. That's when Janet knew she had to end the marriage. There was no going back. Although there were controversies surrounding the move, taking into account her ex-husband's fortunes. If Janet Jackson's marriages were a testament to her unwavering hope and love, why did she repeatedly compromise her own identity in the process? She needs to acknowledge the patterns and move forward. Although her life is constantly surrounded by the scrutiny of her relationships, she has remained a music icon and a feminist symbol. She empowered a generation with her music and message, giving voice to the voiceless. But if Janet doesn't confront the lessons of her past marriages, she may miss the opportunity for personal growth and self-awareness.